Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. And in this stream, we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about Leeds United having an interest in a fairly decent player. Apologies for looking a little bit of a rugged mess. I've spent the last 2 hours painting and then removing the carpet from a room. After this, I will put the carpet in the room and then hopefully move all the furniture back, including building a bed, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. However, what doesn't sound like a nightmare is subscribing to the channel. That'd be massively appreciated. But we're not here for me to say subscribe to the YouTube channel or any of that. We're here to discuss Leeds United being told the price tag for one of the players that they are interested in, specifically a Brazilian winger that will cost us 40 million euros that I genuinely don't think is that bad of a player. However, first of all, going to hop through the chat. Michael says, afternoon, Joe. Love some Brazilian in the side. Absolutely. I think he'd be a wonderful addition from what I've read about him. Good afternoon, Mark. Hello, Darren. We're not paying that much as the 49ers. I'm not entirely sure if you're familiar with the 49ers. A lot of people seem to have the opinion that the 49ers don't spend money. Sorry? Hang on. What? Let's go to transfer market. Because let's be completely clear on this at the very least. The 49ers have consistently been saying things along the lines of, we're going to invest what it takes to stay up, and something like that. And I am going to look at their recent track record with Leeds, because you are wrong in this instance. Let's have a look at all transfers of all time. And we'll get into the player in a minute, but I've got to do some dunking first. So last season, they spent 32 million euros in the Championship. Do you know how much TV revenue you get for an entire year of Championship football? £8 million. That's it, 8. Not 80, 8. Not 18, 8. They spent 4 times their TV revenue on incoming players. Specifically, 12 million euros on Rodon, 8 on Ramazani, 6 on Bogle, 4 on Tanaka, 3 on Schmidt. In addition to bringing in Rothwell and Solomon, in addition to the season before, spending 14 million on Piru, 8 on Ampadu, 6 on Gruev, 6 on Kamara. Come on, let's not pretend that they don't spend any money. And this is where I'm at, because a lot of people are already complaining that we've not done anything yet. Let's just wait a little bit and let the window develop, because it's not going to happen like that. That would be a miracle, and that doesn't tend to happen at any clubs, never mind Leeds United. You very much remind me of a young Alan Partridge. That's a compliment, by the way. I'll take it, because that means that I've got at least a bit of a screeny presence. It's not the highest of compliments, but I'll take it as one. Anyway, let's discuss the player that Leeds United are taking a look at. And it is Igor Paixão. I believe it's Paixão. It's a fun little Portuguese pronunciation. So I'm just going to search the words. How to pronounce. As far as I've heard it, it's Igor Paixão. Or Paixão. I think it's a Z. But we'll find out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present. That's gone to the wrong size. Thank you. There we go. Press F11. Not like that. It's going well. It's going well already. Let's find out. Cool. How to pronounce Paixão.
Welcome to this pronunciation video. Today we will be focusing on a new word that you might find challenging or intriguing. So let's dive into today's word. Paixão, which means
intense emotion, passion.
Paixão.
Paixão. That's what we'll go with. Paixão, not potato. That's quite close. That's closer than you usually are when it comes to pronunciations. Paixão. That's the one we're going for. Yes, Igor Paixão is the player that Leeds United are looking at, and a lot of people will do the thing that they do, and they will see a player and say, he's playing for Feyenoord in the Dutch league, therefore he's not particularly good. But have a look at this guy's numbers. I need to learn how to share this tab instead. There we go. Bosh. Have a look at this guy's numbers. They are ridiculous. Non-penalty goals per 90, 0.5, which means that every other game he's scoring a goal. It puts him in the top 4% of attacking midfielders and wingers. In terms of against all midfielders, top 1%. Be glad I'm not comparing him to like number 8s, because in that case he would look like the most insane footballer of all time. I'm going to stick with the attacking midfield and wingers numbers. In terms of XG, significantly lower than his goals, which means that he's an excellent finisher. Shot total, he'll get 3 shots off per game, which ain't half bad. 0.3 assists per 90, so every third game you're going to get an assist out of him. This means that on average, every game and a bit, let's 0.83. What's 1 divided by 0.83? Let's do some numbers. 0.83. There we go. Every 1.2 games, you're going to expect him to do something for you, whether that's score or get an assist. He's just ridiculous. Shot creating actions, he'll create 5 shots for you per match. And yes, that was at Feyenoord, that was in the Dutch league. However, those numbers are bonkers. And those are not numbers to be ignored. And then you keep looking further down, and you're like, okay, tackles in the top half of like wingers that make challenges, decent number of clearances. He's fairly good on aerials, carries the ball really well, touches the ball in the other penalty box really consistently, receives passes pretty damn well. He's not a bad player in the slightest, and having a little bit of a look at the amount of money that Feyenoord want for him, it's fairly understandable. It's fairly understandable that Feyenoord are asking the amount of money that they are asking for, because he is that good. Realistically, if you are looking back at the last time we got promoted to the Premier League, when we signed Rafinha, we signed him for 17 million quid, and that turned into an absolute bargain. That was a ridiculous deal that we did. Somehow, Ren decided to not make a profit on him, which was bonkers. Realistically, if we're being fair, this is the price point we should have got him at. And now we're looking at a winger from Brazil at a club that want to get rid, I say want to get rid, have to get rid at this point. He's too good to stay in the Eredivisie. And I get a little bit of a feeling that this guy is, A, definitely on the move, B, definitely on the move to the Premier League. Issue is there's 2 clubs that want him. There's us and there's Brighton, which is spooky. I'm personally not. My wife is. Look how Tanaka did and what we paid for him. That's true. You can get decent talent for 3-4 million euros, but at the same time, if you want to ensure that you stay up, you can't keep taking those bets. Because as much as you could buy 10 players for 3 to 4 million euros and instead of Paixão, and you hope that they turn out okay, you've still got a limit on the number of players that you're able to register, which is a challenge in itself, because if you register too many players, then you get told off by the Premier League, or you're just not allowed to play them and you end up forfeiting matches as a result. The club that we're fighting against for him is Brighton. Now, this has me a little bit split down the middle, because we need to recognise that Brighton is a ridiculously good club for players to go to. This is just a fact, because Brighton are a team that perform incredibly consistently. They are a team that, at the end of the day, a lot of people want to go to, and for pretty damn good reason. They will consistently end up in Europe. They are able to sell their players to top 6 clubs fairly reasonably consistently, and they play an attractive brand of football. So if you are a player, you will be able to sort of put yourself out there and say, look, this is how good I am. Other clubs, sign me. And it's a very good stepping stone to go to. But I think there's advantages in coming to Leeds that don't necessarily exist at Brighton. The first of which is, and I'm going to be very, very frank about this, game time. We are able to offer significantly more football to players based on the fact that we don't have quite as much talent as Brighton do at the moment. So having a quick look through the attacking options that Brighton have, and this is in terms of number of matches started. Matoma started 28, João Pedro started 23, Minte started 20, Adingra started 12, Ruter started 19, Brajan Gruda, who is a very, very decent player, started 8, and Ciso started twice, and I think he left on loan in the end. Evan Ferguson started 2, consistently injured, ended up moving away to West Ham, maybe? And then Welbeck started 24. If you're someone that wants to play football week in, week out, I don't think Brighton's the place for you. Because what Brighton tend to do is they rotate players very, very constantly, and are effectively putting someone new in the shop window every single week. And that is, in theory, a tactic that will work very, very effectively for you. But on the player side, you're going to look at that and you're going to think, I want to be playing a little bit more than this. I don't want to be in and out of the side. So if we are in a spot where Paixão is someone that wants to play a lot of football, that wants to prove himself, and he is a very, very effective footballer. Like, let's not mess this up. Last season, he played 34 matches for Feyenoord in the league. Scored 16, 10 assists. Bonkers numbers. Genuinely a ridiculously good player. In the Champions League, 2 goals, 4 assists. They're still pretty damn solid numbers, and he was outperforming in terms of expected goals and in terms of expected assists, which means that across the park, this guy does better than the statistics say he should do, which is either a wild overperformance by the guy on a very consistent basis. I'll have a quick look at how he did the season before, actually. Yeah, season before as well. Scores 9. Not too bad. Admittedly, this was with vastly less minutes. 3 assists. Admittedly, yes, less than he got last season, but he was a player that was still developing. He was relatively new to being in Europe in general, and has ultimately fairly constantly overperformed in a Feyenoord side that is towards the top of the Eredivisie and will be looking to take that step up next. He's someone that has a very, very, very high ceiling, and I'm kind of interested in what you guys are thinking on this one, because I think promising winger from Brazil that has had a bit of a go in Europe already, but is looking for that step into the Premier League, that is something that brings some very significant memories for me of a certain other winger. And yes, sure, that might not be something that is repeatable. Rafinha was a once in a lifetime. Let's not get that wrong. But he's got a hell of a lot to him. He's almost got as much as you guys when you like and subscribe to this video and channel. Thanks, guys. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, I massively appreciate that, because every subscriber is 1p going towards Prostate Cancer UK on the date of the charity match, which is on the 20th of July at John Charles Centre for Sport, kicking off at 1 p.m, featuring all of your favourite Leeds United creators. And it's going to be a fantastic day, and I'm really hoping as many people are there as possible, because we're trying to sell as many tickets as possible to make sure that the charity earns as much as possible. Every single penny that you either donate or spend on tickets goes to Prostate Cancer UK. All of the costs are covered either by sponsors or me. So it's a very good charity. Ultimately, prostate cancer will affect 1 in 8 men in the world in their lives. So it's a charity that's worth supporting, because it is a treatable form of cancer if they keep getting the support that they need. So if you haven't got a ticket yet, it'd be hugely appreciated if you could pop along and say hello. It'd be lovely. But yeah, let's have a little bit of a chat all about Paixão, because I believe that Paixão is one of those players that is going to turn into something very, very special. If we're relatively early on the train to sign him, then we're in a very, very nice spot. A couple of other players that you'd maybe look at and think, could they be worth a pop? Because there's a hell of a lot of footballers that are very, very nice. Hold on. Sorry, I just got a message that I've been saved to Strawberry because it's got bum cheeks, and apparently that could be quite fun. 10k might be quite a distance away. I'm going to do my best, but it's a heck of a distance, and I don't know when I'm going to get there. The absolute dream is that on the date of the charity match itself, the subscriber count just goes flump, and I need to donate more, because that would be ultimately a good thing. Anyway, yeah, Paixão is the bigger of the rumours recently. It seems fairly solid that we've been quoted 40 million euros, and I believe that could potentially be a club record signing. I'm not sure how much Rutte came to in the end, so I'm going to have to check transfer marks on that one. Georgie came to 40.5 million euros, so if we were to sign him for 40, then that's ever so slightly underneath that, which is quite interesting to me. Like the idea that we just about narrowly wouldn't break our transfer record, and this guy is fantastic. Well, if I unsubscribe then resubscribe? No, because the way I'm doing it is I'm doing it based on my total number of subscribers at that point. So if you unsubscribe, the number would go down, and then if you resubscribe, the number would go back to where it was. So ultimately, you wouldn't really help or hinder. You'd just confuse YouTube. And I think that would genuinely harm the channel. mainly because YouTube tracks things like the number of people that have unsubscribed and all that kind of stuff, which is always fun. That's a lovely thing to see. Oh, YouTube. Oh, YouTube. Players on holiday or slowdown deals may have to wait till next week for any significant moves. This is true, but there's a couple of other bits that are true. So you've got that, which is a fairly significant case, but I'm also relatively sure that PSR is going to play a role as well, because a lot of clubs are waiting until the end of the existing PSR window to get things done, because it can be beneficial to them to either sell during the next one to make sure they've got the funds to buy in the next one, or to wait because they've already lost enough in this window and will need to fix it in the next window. It's a complicated sort of process, but it's one that effectively says it might be best if we're in a position where it is played safe and eventually happens on probably the 1st of July. We'll still be linked with various players and we might get a couple of moves done at these early stages. And let's be honest, we could effectively agree to complete these moves beforehand, and that can even be announced. It's just a question of when the money changes hands, which means that for a lot of clubs, it's more convenient for the money to change hands after the PSR deadline goes. On this one, not sure if the 49ers will blow 40 million on one player. The recent report from Sky Sports, who we all know Sky are a nightmare of a place, but it can be of interest, said that looking at like the spine of the team, so central midfield, centre-back, goalkeeper, striker, we were willing to put out about 30 million per position. That would be 30 million pounds, which if you then translate into euros, comes out as 35.6. I'm taking that as a bit of an average. So if you're averaging that out a bit, then you're only spending a bit like 4 million more than your average, which drops for goalkeepers, because goalkeepers will never cost that much money unless you are insane and Chelsea and you sign Kepa for that much cash. I don't think they'll have a problem spending that much on a player, especially when, again, they've put so much time into saying, look, we spent ages getting here in the first place. If we're able to get to the next stage and make sure that we stay in the Premier League, that makes things so much easier for everyone. I don't think they'll have a problem with that. I think it will ultimately be a pretty wise move to sign this guy as well. 1 second. I'm just going to head over to the live tab of YouTube. Ooh, the live tab of YouTube. How fun. I might do another stream later. I'm not entirely sure. I do need to do a video today because I'm trying to do stream and video every day. And if I forget that, I always feel really, really bad. When's that happening? It's happening at 8:15. Okay, I might do the stream as like a video recording stream later and get it out that way. I don't know. I'll work something out. But you can expect to see a video for me before the end of the day. And that'll be absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I think this is only going to be a short one. So before I close, what's happening, Joe? Any signings? Leeds have been quoted a price of 40 million euros for the signing of Igor Paixão, who is a winger / 10-ish who plays in Netherlands at the moment for Feyenoord. Last season, he managed to get himself 26 goal involvements in the league alone, include the Champions League. That becomes 32. Very, very good player. Probably worth our signing, in my opinion. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions around what's shenaniganing, that would be absolutely spectacular. And if not, it's going to be a fairly short stream. It's going to be a fairly short stream in which I throw you over in the direction of Only Leeds Bros in a few minutes, because they're not starting yet, but I think it could be fun. Just like chuck you over that way, you know? I don't know. Maybe. We'll work it out. 1 second. Cool. Yeah, there was a comment earlier as well. Let's have a quick look. Could Rafinha put a good word in with Paixão for us? Specifically, a lot of people will have this idea that this is a thing that can happen. It'd be weird. It'd be because they're different ages and they were in Brazil at different times. So this guy most recently played for Coritiba in Brazil in 2022, whereas Rafinha was last in Brazil in 2015. Whilst in terms of pure age, they're about 3 years separated from one another, I doubt they will have known each other because their clubs in Brazil weren't the same club and they haven't shared a club when in Europe. They might have had a little bit of a natter at some point, but I think the odds of this actually being a thing are relatively low. And in this case, Andy, this is absolutely your loss because only Leeds pros are pretty sound, to be honest with you. They're like, good dudes. Anyway. That's that for now. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, please pop a like on it. That's always massively appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't yet, or become a channel member. It's $2.99 a month. You get a bunch of videos and stuff early, which is always lovely. And yeah, I'll leave that there. Also get tickets for the Creator Cup down below. Thank you. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Ta-ra.